This is the Uniform Residential Appraisal Report, right? And here you can see the Freddie Mac form number 70, Fannie Mae fraud form number 1004, right? Page 1 of 6. It is not only gonna be 1 to 6. These are the standard forms, but after that there will be more documentation. Like I'm telling, set of documents. So another more documentation will be added, like appraiser license number, his copy of license, what is the market condition addendum, and there are more other addendums which have been included. Properties, photograph, right? Any other conclusion, invoices. So all those documents will also follow the form. Okay. Uniform Residential Appraisal Report. The short form is URAR. Never get confused. Okay. Sometimes someone might ask, do you know what is URAR? UR stands for Uniform Residential Appraisal Report. So as uniform itself telling us that everyone throughout the US, this is the form which will be used by every appraiser for SFR, 1 unit property, SFR and PUD. Now it has been, broken down in different sections. First section is subject. The second is contract, right? The third is neighborhood. And the fourth is site. And the fifth is improvements, right? What I told you. And then there will be the comparison, and after comparison they are going to give us the reconciliation. That means a kind of conclusion, right? That is going to be the conclusion. Here the appraisal. We are going to go through this appraisal line by line, so don't worry. Okay. Now, what is the first line state? So it's a subject column or subject section. That means it is only going to give us the subject information. What property appraiser has appraised, what is our subject property, on which loan has been applied. Okay, so property address. What is property address? Whatever the subject property address, we should always match this subject property address with our all other documentation, but especially it should match with the purchase contract exactly, and title, preliminary title or whatever title, final title you have. This address should match with that, because this is the property appraiser has appraised, and we are going to use this as a collateral, as a security in our loan. So this address should exactly match with these two documents, purchase contract and title. Always city, state, zip code, then borrower name. Borrower name again should always match with the borrower's ID, right? Borrower's ID. Owner of public record, who is the owner? Now, if it is a refinance, then obviously borrower name will always be here. If it is a purchase case, then some other name which is given on the purchase contract as a seller and in title as a current owner, that name should match here exactly. Then county, then legal description. We have discussed already all these legal, but our county, what is legal description in the basic underwriting. Assessor parcel number. Assessor parcel number means tax number. This property's tax number, right? Don't get confused. So the property tax number will be given here. Tax year will be given here. And what is the real estate taxes? What are the taxes for that given year will be written here. But we can take the assessor parcel number and can match it with the title, because it will be given on the title report. But we do not consider these real estate taxes for our DTI, right? We will be always considering the tax amount from the tax bill, not from the appraisal. Why we won't be appraisal? Because I'm telling, most of the information has been collected by appraiser, right? We do not know whether appraiser took this tax amount from this year tax bill, or he might have applied his previous year tax history, right? So do not believe this, or do not use this amount in your DTI while calculating the DTI, or you remember PITI, right? So there we do not use this amount. It should be here, but it is not mandatory that we should use this. Mostly it is going to be differ from your tax bill. Neighborhood name. Now neighborhood name means if the property is in a city that in the city, what neighborhood, where he is exactly living, right? That mohalla, we used to speak in Hindi, right? Town. Reference name, then map reference number. What is the map reference where the property on the map is situated, and census tract. If we have to track, we have to find on the property, right? So what is the tract? Census tract, not very much related to us. Occupant. So who is the occupant? The currently who is occupying that property? Is it owner? So if it is a primary refinance, then obviously it should be always owner, right? If it is investment property, it should be tenant, or it could be vacant as well. Currently, when appraiser go to that home or appraiser goes to that home, there is a possibility that that time, since there is no rent currently on this property, right? So it could be vacant. But when it comes to owner occupied property refinance, then it could not be vacant. It should be owner. So it always need to be, you always need to keep an eye on such on this information and need to cross check with the purpose of the loan, right? If somebody is going to be purchase a property, somebody is going to purchase this property, obviously it could be tenant occupied, it could be vacant, right? But it could not be owner occupied. In the similar way, if somebody is all, refinancing their primary residence, it should be owner. So always cross check and do not make any assumption. Special assessment. So special assessment is sometimes we do not consider this special assessment anywhere while underwriting, right? So, but just why we do not consider it is a one-time fee. Sometimes specially comes in when somebody is getting into some kind of planned unit development where a lot of properties, condominium properties, like one building, and they are getting in, if they are going to purchase those kind of properties, right? So what happens, let's say it's a 20-story building where person is going to purchase a property, but that association, whatever exists there, they might ask him or her, before getting into this property, before taking the possession, they might ask the new owner that you have to pay $5,000 or $50 or $500 as a society charge, one-time fee, if you want to occupy this property. So that could be a one-time fee, right? We do not consider it anywhere. Now it is going to tell us what type of this property. If it is checked PUD, that means it's a PUD property. If it will not be PUD, they won't be checking it, right? They won't check it. If it is PUD, then there is going to be a HOA fee. So they might say $100. Now $100, they might say it's a per month $100. Again, we can check it, cross check it, but we do not consider this amount. We will go for HOA statement, right? We will ask for the current HOA statement, and from there we are going to consider this amount for our PITI purpose. Next is property rights appraised, whether it's a fee simple, leasehold, or other. So when we say fee simple, we already discussed while going through the title, while going through the 1003, what is fee simple and leasehold. So I won't describe it again. Assignment type, loan purpose, purchase transaction, or refinance, right? Who is the lender? Looking for investor, then you need to check who was the lender who actually funded the loan, or if we are working in live underwriting, we know who is our lender for whom we are working, right? What is lender address? It should be correct. It could not be that I am working for a Bank of America and loan is showing me the US bank name. The lender is US bank. That should not be. And address should be correct. Now next is the subject property currently offered for sale or has been offered for sale in the 12 months prior to the effective date of this appraisal, yes or no? So let's say this appraisal is being prepared or have been concluded on the 30th June, right? 2022. So in the last 12 months, in the recent 12 months, had this property been offered for sale? So what exactly is the impact if somebody was trying to sell this property? So there is a possibility. Why it is concerning for us, if they are saying yes, We need to see when it was listed for sale. Has it been delisted? When it has been delisted, right? Any property that is being refinanced, right? Refinance, not the purchase. Obviously, if property is being purchased, that means somebody selling it, so they need to list it. But if it is being refinanced, then it could not be something that it could not be listed for sale. It should not be listed for sale. If it is listed for sale, that means previously the owner was trying to sell it. Somehow he was not able to sell it due to any deficiency, any any other issues in the property. He might be thinking that since property is not getting sold, let me go and get it refinanced. I will get refinanced and will utilize that money. And then even if borrower doesn't want to pay back, he will say, okay, I was trying to sell it, it was not being sold, now I will take a loan and later I will ask the bank take the property. Is that a possibility or not? That is a possible, right? That is possible, right? You guys are with me or I'm alone?
Yes.
So we are looking for.
Okay. So there is a possibility. So if that happens, if it is all yes, then you need to see what is the procedure of your investor, what your investor guideline is telling to you. It is not going to be it is not something which is going to always be a fraud, but sometimes there is a possibility and it could lead us towards fraud. So if we see property was listed for sale, but then they delisted, obviously we can ask borrower why it was listed for sale and why it has been delisted, and now what is the purpose of refinancing this property, right? And there could be certain guidelines which are going to restrict the LTV, that any property that was listed for sale within the last 3 months, then borrower, there could be a guideline which might tell that borrower cannot take more than 50% LTV. If it was listed for sale in last 6 months, then borrower cannot go for more than 75%. And if it was listed in the last 12 months, then borrower might not go for more than 85%. So those kind of different scenarios or guidelines could be of your investors. So please always check those guidelines. If this happens, if property is refinanced and that is now property is being refinanced that had been previously listed for sale. So how we will get to know when the property was listed? There is a possibility most of the time appraiser going to mention here when the property was listed for the sale, on this date, on this date, and they might attach a listing, proof of listing, that this property was listed for a sale in which county or in which office, right? They might give us a proof, or we can ask from the borrower as well to give us that listing that this property has been delisted now from there. So they will provide us a letter from that county wherever it was listed for sale, that now this property has been delisted from there. Is the subject is clear? Subject is clear for everyone? Any question? Okay, very good. Now let's go to the contract. This contract column will only be filled when it will be a purchase case, not in refinance, right? So either you will get this information, yes or no, or either you will get this information. These are the two are going to cross check each other. Means if it is a refinance, either it will be, mostly you will see it is written no. It is written no, right? But then if you see it was no, then this section will be blank. That means it's a refinance case. But if there is nothing written, right, and it is filled, that means it's a purchase case. So here appraiser is going to declare that I did or did not analyze. If he's check here, that means I did not. Here I means I did check, right? So I did analyze the contract for sale for the subject property transaction. So what happens whenever our setup or processing team is going to order an appraisal report, and if it is a purchase case, so as per the guidelines, appraiser should get a copy of that purchase contract. That is how always, if any one of you have worked in the processing, part or processing department, whenever they are going to apply or order an appraisal report, they will always, this is a guideline that appraisal should be ordered with purchase, by sending or attaching the purchase contract and a copy of title report, so that appraiser could go through that, right? So that is what appraiser is going to declare it, whether it's a purchase case and whether he received or he analyzed the purchase contract or not. So they are going to give us the information that at the time of appraiser, this was the purchase contract I was provided with, and on that appraiser price, right, this was the property price. This was the property price. So contract, whatever the price listed on the contract, they are going to write it here, right? Which mostly you can ignore, or you can cross-check from the purchase contract, but there is a possibility there are more counter offer, those have been attached, right, to the purchase contract, and because of that the price has been changed there, but it will remain same here, because mostly we are going to send them the first purchase copy of the first purchase or sale agreement. Then date of contract. Is the property seller the owner of the public record? Is there a possibility it could be no? The seller of the property, is it possible that he is not the owner of the property? Is there a possibility? Yes. So there is sometimes it is a possible that the owner of the public record, mean the title, is showing the owner as Indigenous Outlook LLC. Now, who is going to sell it? One of Indigenous representative, who is the seller now, who is going to sign. So there is a possibility, but mostly you will see yes. Okay, but there is a possibility. Sometimes people might assign an attorney, or sometimes a trustee could be the seller, right? But he is not going to be the public record owner. So there is a possibility. But if it is no, then we need to dig out why it is no. What is the matter? This is how we will get to know, right? So if it is no, then we will get stuck here. Oh, he is not the owner. So we will go and check who is the owner of the public record. It could be Indigenous Outlook, right? Then we can go and see the purchase, who's signing the purchase contract. It could be signed by Sudesh Kumar. Now we will see, does Sudesh Kumar, how Sudesh Kumar can sell this property for Indigenous Outlook. Then we will see, is there an authority letter which states that Sudesh Kumar has been authorized to sell this property in the name of Indigenous Outlook. He is our Indigenous representative, and now his signatures are acceptable as a seller. Whatever the authorization letter they are going to give to that representative. Sometimes it could be trust, right? Property could be vested in the name of trust, and the trustee is going to sell the property, but he need to provide that trust agreement which gives him all the power to sell this property, right? So those kind of dig outs we need to do. Is there any financial assistance, loan charges, sale concessions, gift or down payment assistance to be paid by any party on behalf of the borrower? Yes, no. So if it is yes, now we know where we need to go. We need to go back to the asset, and we need to check all the documentation. Who is paying the down payment assistance? Who can pay the down payment assistance? We already discussed this while going through the assets. It could be employer, right? Or it could be the NGO or any government body or government department who might be assisting them to pay the down payment. Or it could be a gift from friends or relatives. It could be sale concessions. Sale concession we have gone through that. Remember those seller contributions and loan charges. So anyone is giving the loan charges could be waived by the lender. So whoever going to give, appraiser mostly you will not find all this information here, right? Appraiser won't be knowing that what is going on in the, if they will get to know, they are going to write it, but do not give lot of, weightage to this column. Now, these are the lines where that has been, this is the space that has been given to appraiser, where appraiser can conclude or give a description or can give explanation or justification in these. So if it is written, something is written, properly check it. Okay. Now, next is neighborhood. Neighborhood is the most important section of the appraisal. Remember that. Neighborhood. Location could be urban, suburban, and rural, right? Urban, suburban, and rural. So urban means, where, like New York City, or like any other city like Delhi, like Mumbai, right? Those are the urban cities. Suburban, like, it's not like Mumbai, like Chandigarh. Chandigarh is not, it's suburban. It's not urban, not like Delhi or not like Mumbai, right? Or you can say any other city like Rohtak, or there are Surat, right? Rural is again a remote area, right? Village, remote places, those are rural areas. So where the property is situated, what is the neighborhood? It is location is urban, suburban, or rural. Now, please be very careful or be very attentive while going through this section, because it's very, very important. Lot of information you can make out from here, and whatever we are going to discuss here is gonna be, going to give us lot of information in the preceding pages. Okay. So location, let's say it's suburban. Then now next is built up area. What do we mean built up area? Means this is the location of the property. Here is the property. This is the total area, right? Now there is a possibility that this much of area, right, has been occupied with the buildings. So this is the total area. So that means it is almost 75%, right? That has been occupied. And this is blank, still available. It is not occupied. Now, that is what the built up area, over 75%. So it's going to be Delhi. You will see 75%, almost 90% is the already built up area. There is no vacant land, right? Or very less vacant land. But in suburban area, there is a possibility that it is 25 to 75% area that has been built. It could be 50%, 40%, but similar area is still vacant. There is no, that has not been occupied by the people for anything. So if it is suburban, 25 to 75% is the built up area, I'm good. I know that this is what the condition of. If it is rural, we know that in the rural, it is a rural place. There is a possibility one property is here, one property is here, one property is here, one property is here, one property is. It could be the radius of 100 miles. Now you will see in this area how much has been occupied, less than 25%, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. It could be this much of site, it could be this much of site, this much of site, this much of site. But rest of the area is totally vacant. That is what. So under 25%, less than 25% has been built up, means property has been built up in this area, only less than 25%. The rest of the all land is vacant, no buildings. So if rural, it is under 25% is acceptable. But do you think if it is rural and somebody telling no, built up is 75%, is that possible? In a rural area, do you think it is possible that properties, this is a rural area, we are telling it is a very rural area. It's a remote village of Rajasthan, right? But we are telling almost this much of the area has been occupied by the people. Do you think this gonna be considered as a rural area? If the 75% of land already occupied by the people, it will become a urban area.
Urban area.
Right? It is not possible in the rural area that we are telling, no, this area is a rural, but only thing there is no place, no vacant land. So that could not be considered as a rural. So this is how you're going to keep an eye on everything and going to relate each and everything together while going through the appraisal, right? So if it's a suburban, 25 to 75 is good, but if suburban is telling less than 25% area is covered or built up, that is not, something is wrong. It could be a typo mistake. People who are going to create it are human being. It could be an error, but we need to raise a finding, raise a condition for this to correct it or to give us explanation. Then growth. How is the neighborhood is growing? If you will see, if the area will be developing, if people will be growing, building will also start growing, right? As soon as person will grow, his style of living is also going to grow. So living style, his house is also going to grow. So if the area, what is the growth rate of that neighborhood, right? You must have seen there is a posh area where the high-rise buildings are there. On the side, on the other neighborhood, you will see slum area, right? So that is what the growth is. If slum area people will start growing, building will also start growing. You will see, you could see SFR 1 unit and then not the slum, but it will start growing, right? So how is the growth happens? If we see a rural area where only 10 houses were there, now it's 100 within the last 2 years. What we can say, growth rate is, oh my God, 10 to 100. Now previously it was only occupied. Now this much has been occupied. Almost 50% has been occupied within last 2 years, 24 months. So it is going to be rapid growth, right? This is called rapid growth. Rapid growth is possible only in the urban area. Do you think it is going to be in the suburban area? No. It will be very slow in the rural area. So this is how it should be. We cannot say that a rural area has rapid growth. Possibility, but then that need to be justified by the appraiser or any company who are going to create that appraiser. It's a rural area under 25%, but growth is rapid. Growth means buildings growth, land acquisitions, how it is growing, how buildings are growing. So if it is urban, obviously it will be rapid. People will need more houses, more people are there, more population is there, they need more homes need to be built, right? So it is going to be rapid. It will be, speed could be rapid. Suburban area, speed again could be rapid, but that need to be justified by appraiser why it is. There is a possibility in a suburban area. Now there are 2 world universities have been set up. What will happen? Growth, buildings growth will rapidly go to the top. Everyone will be making the building. They know that a lot of people are going to come here. Builders will be making the building. They will sell those buildings. People who already have the buildings or the spaces, they will also build some houses for rental purpose, for income purpose. But achanak se growth you will see, suddenly the growth is picking up, right? But that is need to be justified in a suburban. But if somebody telling that urban area, but it is slow, again appraiser going to justify why it is slow. They might say urban area, but highly populated, there is hardly any space. So whatever the building has been already built, that is the only space. It's almost 100% occupied. There is no growth. It could be upward, but again, they are going to justify that why buildings are not growing. People are growing, but buildings are not growing, which hardly happens. But sometimes there is a possibility. If suburban, if stable, no question. Rural, if slow, no question. Urban, rapid, no question. Whenever it is going to be, any other box has been checked, cross-checked or have been highlighted, obviously we need to question or we need to see the justification. Has it been justified by appraiser or not? Are we good with this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Very good. The next is one unit housing trends. One unit housing trends means, because I'm telling 1004 will be used for one unit SFR and PUD. So obviously this form will only be asking or showing us the information about one unit housing. Property values. Increasing means values are increasing. In the last 6 months, value has increased by 10%, 5%, 2%, but it is increasing. Stable means, it's not increasing. It goes 2%, then come down to 2%, then go to -2.1, then again come to 2%. So it's a stable, not very high. The property which I saw 6 months earlier was for 200,000. It is still at 200,000, or it is just 200, 199. They are good to give. So that is stable. Declining means the property which I saw six months, I inquired about the value 6 months before, right? Now that is declining. The property they were trying to sell to me 6 months before for 200,000. Now they are ready to give it to 180,000. That is decline. Now tell me one thing. It's an urban area, overbuilt up 75%, and growth is rapid. What do you think? What is going to be the property values on this trend?
Increasing.
Increasing, right? If growth is increased, then it is going to, is it possible it is going to decline? No, right? If it is showing this pattern in the neighborhood, but the housing trend is showing the declining market value, not justified. We need a justification how it is possible. But if it is increasing, or even if stable, I will be fine. It's an urban, but declining is not going to tell me. If it is declining, then it should be slow, right? Growth rate is going to be slow. Built up area could be over 75. That is fine. But if it is stable, I am fine. But declining, again, I need to see. But if it is a rural, 25% growth rate is slow, is it possible it could be increasing? Very hard. Growth ही नहीं है वहाँ पे. There is no growth. Built up area 25%. There are a lot of land available. Why? How property value will go high? Never. It will never. It could be stable in, which is not very much acceptable, but declining is fine. Yeah, property is obviously going to decline. Nobody is going and living there, right? So stable and declining is still acceptable. So it is not only we are going to read them, but we need to compare with each information with each other. All the information need to be compared with each other. It is not just to be, read it, okay, it checked, I'm good. No, whatever has been written, it should make sense here. If it is not going to make sense, I'm going to read the description, justification statements. Those have been written down by the appraisers. Even if I do not find any good explanation, satisfactory explanation, then I can question the appraisers. Then why it is showing this? Demand and supply, shortage. So obviously if it's 75% growth is rapid, it is going to be shortage. But if it is stable, 20 to 25%, it should be in balance. Stable should be in balance, right? And if it is rural, it could be oversupply, right? It could be oversupplied. So we need to cross-examine these two columns with each other. The third is marketing time. So if growth is rapid, there is a shortage, any property come into the market for sale, it should get sold under 3 months. But if it is stable, then it should be in balance, and 3 to 6 months it should get sold. But if it's an oversupply, means we have 20 properties listed for sale, and there are only 4 people who are just trying to buy. Rest of the 16 they can buy only 4. Rest of the 16 property might have to wait for longer periods, 3 to 6 or 6 to 1 year, right? So that is how it is connected. These two columns are connected with each other, and this is how we are going to cross check all the information within these two columns. Now the 1 unit housing, again trend, price, age. whatever the price. So I'm writing here maybe 150 means 1000. Okay, its high is could be 500 and predominant could be, let's say, 200,000. They are telling the lowest property that has been sold here, that was 10 years old, age 10 years, right? And it was sold for 150,000. The highest property that has been sold, that was 20 years old and it was sold for 500,000. Predominant means properties which are going in between, falling in between those, mostly are going to be 15 years on the age. It could be 11, it could be 16, 19, but on an average 15 years of their age, and they get sold for 200,000, one unit properties, not all, only one unit properties. So these are the value trend there, right? After that, present land use percentage. So again, based on this, remember, if 75% is built up area, they are going to say in this this is the area, okay? And we are telling 75% is already built up. This is occupied by the people. This is the only land that is vacant. So now here they are going to tell us out of this 75%, what is the percentage of one unit property, because all the 75% will not be occupied only by the one unit property, right? Appraiser is just telling us that, okay, out of the 75% that has been occupied, right, there are almost 35% is occupied by the one unit property. 2 to 4 unit property, they might tell it is only 15%. Multi-family, where multiple families are living, right? So build a house like, so they can write it is almost 40%. Okay. And commercial, they can tell 10%. This is how this 75% is being covered here. Okay. Just give me 1 second. Quiet. So always keep an eye on all this minor information. It's very important and could lead you towards, even sometimes towards decline the approval. Then neighborhood boundaries, right? It will be just explained by the appraiser. Neighborhood description, again it will be very standard verbiage that will be written by the appraiser. Market condition including support for above conclusion, right? So whatever has been written, appraiser is going to write here a conclusion about this neighborhood, that this neighborhood is well surrounded with schools, well surrounded with the market, commercials, right, nearby, offices. There are a lot of offices, so employment is also good there. So this overall, the market condition of this neighborhood is very good. Why it will be written in this way? So these are the description, these are the justification or explanation will be giving us to the lender a kind of confidence, because tomorrow we will be selling this file. If property need to be foreclosed, then we need to sell this property to someone. So if the neighborhood will be good, right, peaceful area, well surrounded with all the amenities, with all the facilities those are required for human beings, schools, offices, markets, right, highways nearby, right, peaceful area. If that is going to be happen, anyone is going to buy such properties and it could be sold easily for a good price. But if it is written, it is isolated area, hardly people, we could see any people in the for the miles, no help is, no schooling, proper schooling is there. School are 10 or 50 miles away, offices are 100 miles away, highway is almost 100 miles away from here. How we can market this property, and how, if lender need to sell it tomorrow, how they are going to sell it? So these justification need to be read very, with a purpose, what we are going to, whether we are going to accept this property valuation or not, this appraisal report or not. So these small, sometimes they say everything is in the checkbox, everything is good, but they might write here a comment that this neighborhood, there's lot of crimes going on, right? It could not be told here. So appraiser could write here. We need to be, we need to read the comments with an intention, whether we are good. Is there any comment which is going to impact the saleability of this property? With that mindset, if you are going to read this appraisal, you can make your decisions. Okay, now next is any question regarding neighborhood? Guys, girl, any question?
No, sir.
Okay. Next is site. So site is dimensions. What is the site dimensions? It could be bigger area, shape, regular, irregular, rectangular, view. What is the view? North residential view, south residential view, east residential view. Specific zoning classification. Now we know what is zone. Zone is like, this is the one area of one city. So they might say this is zone that is for economic, means offices will be here. So all this area will be approved only for office buildings. Now this area could be residential. This area is only for residential purpose, right? And this area could be given only for schools. Here only schools and institutions can be. This area could be industrial area. Here only industries could be. No residential area, no school, nothing will be here. You must have seen even in India, there are so many industrial area, right? There you won't find any people living there. So that is what the zoning classifications, right? So what is the zoning classification? They could say it's a residential classification. Residential. So if it is residential, I'm fine. But if they are telling it's an economic zone, then I have a problem. If they are writing it's an industrial zone, how this property has been built, how we are going to sell it tomorrow? It's an industrial zone. So it will again be a concern. Zoning description, they are going to write about the description. Zoning compliance. Now compliance, if they have written here industrial, then I am very much concerned. Now how this property will be sold, or should we give them a loan? Now I'm seeing legal, zoning compliance legal. That means that state, that city has approved anyone, even its zoning is industrial, but you can build your home. It's legal. There is no restriction, which hardly happens. So if it is, now we can see it's legal, but non-conforming. Non-conforming means this is government has declared this as an industrial area, and any residence that is here, built here, or anyone trying to build a residence here, that is not approved by the government, because in the industrial area. So it is not in the conforming zone. This area has been confirmed as an industrial area, right? There is a property that is non-conforming. Government doesn't confirm this property as residential. We won't be, but it is legal. That means what happens in 1980, it was almost, vacant land. So somebody built a home here, somebody built a home here, somebody built here home. But slowly and steadily, this area was getting developed as an industrial area. So this person might have sold the property, so it also gone under the, now this home is still here, or there could be more homes. But government has declared in 2000, after 20 years, they declared this area as industrial area, industrial zone. But is it my mistake? Because when I build a home in this area, it was not an industrial zone. In fact, there was no zone declared. It was no zoning area. There was no zone. Anyone who want to set up a factory, they can set up their industry here. Anyone who want to build a house, they can build a home. It was no zoning compliance was there, right? But in 2000, when I purchased this property, this land in 1980, I built a home. In 2000, government declared this area as an industrial area. But my home is legal, right? We cannot say they are illegally living in this property. Can we? No. Excuse me. We cannot say they have occupied this property as illegal. But this property is not conforming to its zone. If this scenario occurs, then what we are going to do? If you are reviewing an appraisal report, and in the appraisal report, it is showing conforming conforming, legal non-conforming. That means property is legal, but zone is not confirmed. And it's a grandfather use, because this land was purchased by my grandfather. Property was built that time. No one was there. No zoning was there. Now it has been considered as in 2000 or just 10 years before, this area was declared as industrial area, right? But we have legal right on this land. We have legal right on this property. Industrial area was declared later. We were living in this home earlier than that. So it is called a legal non-conforming. Now, as a lender, when I see legal is fine, but it is non-conforming, should I give a loan on this property? What happens if tomorrow property get demolished? Then who is going to cover for me? How, or if borrower defaults, then how we can sell this property? It is a residential property. We cannot sell it. So borrower need to provide us a certification that should be the rebuilt certification. Rebuilt certification. This is the legal non-conforming area. Whenever you come across such option has been checked mark, we know that property is legal, but it is in the non-conforming zone. Now, if something happens to property and property could be rebuilt again as a residential property, then we are good. But how we will confirm whether there is a authorization? My borrower is authorized to rebuild the property. He need to give us the rebuild certification from that county office, from their legal department, from that city legal department. Mostly it is going to be county office. So they will bring us the rebuild certification that no, I have the certification. If something happens to my property tomorrow, we can easily rebuild this property. Then I am fine. But if they cannot give me the rebuild certification, on this case, I cannot approve this loan. I cannot accept this appraisal, or I should not lend on such properties. Is that clear? If zoning compliance is legal non-conforming, is that acceptable or not? It is acceptable if borrower is able to provide us a rebuilt certification, right? Rebuilt certification. If borrower brings a rebuilt certification and give to us, here is my rebuilt certification. If something happens to property, I can rebuild this property as a residential, then we are fine. If they cannot bring that rebuild certification, we cannot do anything. Then we cannot. Now the next is no zoning. If it is a no zoning, do you think in the New York City you won't have any zone for it, or similar in the California? Do you think there will be no zoning? No zoning should be acceptable or not?
Yes,
it should be, right? If it is in a rural, it is no zoning, that is acceptable, right? If it is a rural property, yes, rural, and there is a no zoning, very much acceptable. But it is an urban and it is telling us no zoning is not going to happen, right? Again, you need to question the appraiser why it is so, justify how it is possible that in an urban area there is no zoning compliance. But in rural, yes, you can go for, you know that there will not be any zoning. Illegal is acceptable or not for any property, urban, suburban, rural. Illegal zoning,
Unacceptable. No, sir.
right? Illegal is never going to be acceptable. Very nice. Now the next is the highest and best use of subject property as improved or as subject? Yes, no, the present, right? So means if it's an industrial area and there a property is being utilized as residential area, is that the best use of the property? No. But if it is a residential area and a property has been utilized as a rental purpose, it could be yes, it could be no, right? So whatever written here, we need to verify with our scenario. All the information that has been declared here in this, everything need to be cross-checked with all these sites, areas, right? Zoning compliance, ye, bo. Okay. So all these are going to be interconnected. So somewhere they cannot tell us it's an urban and it's no zoning compliance. It's a rural and zoning compliance. Doesn't match with each other. So that is how we need to verify each and every field, each and every line, each and every information with each other, right? So utilities, electricity, public or other. It's public, it's fine. Gas, public or other. If other, they can say. So if somebody might say, no, I'm using other, I have my own solar panel, right? We will see the solar panel document and we'll see, does it have enough capacity to generate the electricity? If it is gas public, that is fine. If it is other, they are going to say, they might say propane or some other, they are not using the gas or they are using some other. So that is how. But whatever they are utilizing here, right? We always need to make sure it is not only for them. Everyone is using public electricity and one person is telling, no, I'm taking some other generator. I'm creating the electricity from, by using the fuel, by generator. Is that acceptable? No, right? But if there is no electricity line, everyone, all the houses are using that, then obviously that is typical to all the area, that is good. So all the people are using only the solar panel energy or solar panel electricity, which should be fine. But only this home is using this solar panel and everyone is using the public electricity, is again need a justification how that is acceptable. What could be the risk in the future? Okay, or everyone is using solar panel and only our is using the public, that is again could create a problem. Public water, it could be public, it could be other could be, let's say somebody telling we have a well in our property and we use that. So now our responsibility becomes more. Now we need to see that well is proper, clean. They need to provide us, clean water status. So someone from the county office will come and they will provide them, yes, we checked your well is giving you the safe water, that is safe for everyone, and all the, it is a clean area, it is well maintained area, right? And all the compliance are being fulfilled related to the safety of the water, right? So all that is required. Well certification will be required. Sanitary sewer, again, if somebody is using the septic tank, right? Instead of public, somebody is using septic tank. Again, we need to see they have proper, that septic tank is properly examined and it is not creating any germs outside, right? So those kind of certification we might require. You can go through your, whenever you come across anything that you think is not very generic, special on this property, they are only utilizing it, always go back and check your investor guideline, what document they are asking. Off-site improvement type. So street, how is the street? whether it's a public or private. So it's a public, that is fine. But if it's a private road or private street, then they might need to provide us the road certification as well. Who is maintaining that road, right? LA, LA is a public or private. If it is a private, then we need to see the photograph whether it's properly, maintained. Now the FEMA special flood hazard area. No is fine. No FEMA flood zone. If it is yes, always cross check from the flood certificate, right? We are not just blindly going to follow this instruction. If it is no or yes, we will follow always the flood certification which we used to run. Map number, FEMA date, you can cross check with your flood certificate whether that is correct or not. Are the utilities of the offsite improvement typical for the market area? That is what I was trying to define, right? That if it is telling yes, that is fine. If they are telling no, this property, they are using different electricity, they are using different from everyone. If no, then they are going to describe why they are utilizing this. They might say because the solar panel is now, they have invested on the solar panel and which is creating lot of electricity and it could run without any defect for next 5 years. So it seems good, then we are good. If it is telling we do not know, it seems that electricity board is not allowing them the electricity and that is why they are going for solar. So there is a reason why they are not being utilized, authorized, or being distributed with the electricity. So based on the scenario, based on the justification of appraiser, we are going to make our decision. Okay. Next is, are there any adverse site condition or external factors? So whatever written by the appraiser, we need to check it properly. Sometimes they will say no, but here they can write something else. Sometimes they can say yes, and here they can tell it is acceptable for, it is a very generic for this area, right? So always we need to always keep an eye, need to be the comments, those will be added by the appraiser, those need to be properly read. Okay. Subject, contract, neighborhood, site. No question. So let's conclude our session here.